Hey, folks, one of the Redneck Country Podcast. You are on with Real Redneck Todd Millard. And, of course, we've got the almost guy, Real Redneck Bill, Thom. Bill, are you there?
I'm here, and it's a beautiful night for a podcast.
Beautiful night for a podcast. And as always, sitting beside me is the patriarch of Redneck Country, my father, Real Redneck Don Millard. Dad, is your mic hot?
It's hot. And like Bill said, it's a beautiful night for a podcast. And I'm sitting right next to you.
Good deal.
Well,
we have
good
everybody
deal.
back in
Sitting next to
studio.
me might not be the best deal.
Yeah, well, it worked for me.
No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. So this week, we're going to keep this intro fairly short because I think there's a whole lot of respect to be paid right here. And last week, if you listened to our podcast and when I ended it, we had a special guest on and I didn't let him talk because we had to hear about my turkey.
Yeah, and as anybody knows, Todd has an inability to have short stories anytime he tells stories.
Well, I'm very humble guy. I didn't really. You guys forced it out of me, twisted my arm.
Bolts.
I left lots out because I didn't want to gloat or brag too much because that's just not who I am. But I tried to tell as much detail as I could, and it happened to go on a little long. And so I thought, okay, we can make this a really long podcast and listen to our special guest story as well. But I think that it deserved a lot more respect than that, and it deserved to be the spotlight of the podcast. And so we thought, no, you know what? We're going to cut it, and then we will make it the next week's podcast, which happens to be tonight's podcast.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to finally have this guest on and to hear his story because I've hunted with him and followed his career, and I'm excited that he's here, and I'm anxious to hear his story. Uninterrupted, possibly.
Well, kind of. I'm still got a hot mic. But yeah, so I am pretty pumped too because this is his first hunt. Too. He's had the tutelage of the almost guy.
Yep.
And for many years, which might have been the downfall. He finally threw caution to the wind and said, "Screw you, Bill. I'm not even going to listen to you anymore." And I'm totally kidding. Because really, you're going to hear this, and I can't hide it. He pretty much said, "Screw you, Todd. I'm not going to listen to you anymore."
That's just pretty much how it went.
I'm doing the exact opposite of everything you have told me, and even messaged on Facebook and droned on and drove him nuts. Did the exact opposite.
That's why I'm so proud of him. And he doesn't drink coffee.
Well, everybody's got their own downfalls.
He doesn't drink tea either, but my gosh, every variety store is in business. You need a sponsorship from like Circle K and 7-Eleven, I think. But
I think you can get it.
Yeah. The poster child. It'd be awesome. We walk in. I'm going to say the name now so everybody knows who it is. You walk into any variety store and there's Real Redneck Jay Thom standing right there with the breakfast burrito and a giant Slurpee.
Yeah, he's a poster child for health, fitness, and hunting styles.
You don't get that body by eating healthy, I think is his words.
That's right. So, it's good. Let's get to it and see where the story goes.
I'm pretty pumped. So without further ado, congratulations ahead of time, and everybody strap in because I'm actually his first ever. Here it is. So you've shot a turkey in your pajamas. Yeah. In the fall, in that season, with your crossbow.
Correct.
That you put the stock on. Which, folks, you want to hear a story, that's a whole other podcast. Go look it up. You'll see him on the cover in his pajamas, red and black plaid pajamas. That was his first turkey that he just happened to buy a tag. He was going deer hunting, might as well have one. But now this is your first actual turkey season where we're going after a Thom, right?
This is everything correct so far. Absolutely.
And so coming up to this story right here, we've brought him on the podcast and Bill has been coaching him, which I kind of think is the reason it's taken this long, but has been coaching him till now in the same spot you hunt deer out of, the same woods. But up until now, you haven't seen many turkeys at all. Like you've seen a hen, and then all of a sudden in this one weekend, you've now seen a Thom, had a Thom respond to the call, but no dice. But then eventually we're going to get to hear a killer kick butt story, right? So you've done it all now. You've gone a whole season that you were pretty distraught. You were getting frustrated.
This is, absolutely. I was getting very close to saying, I hope this season's almost over, because I was having less and less fun every time I'd gone out.
And that's why we're calling you Mr. Resilient. I love it, because you hung in. All right, well, take us away, Bill. You could probably, you know the story better than I, so you could probably navigate it a little bit.
Yeah, no, I'm going to let him start off, and I'll fill in some blanks here with some questions and
sure.
Stuff, but let him take it away and see where this goes.
Well, starts on, I guess, Monday. I went out. I had been talking with the farmer. I got a little inside information from the farmer, because I hadn't seen many turkeys in the time that I'd been out. I've been out, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 times, whatever it had been. And I hadn't seen much. And I messaged the farmer, and I just said, hey, I haven't seen much. Have you seen them lately? And he messaged me back. Yeah, I've seen them a few times out in the cornfield, usually around 5 o'clock at night is when he was seeing them. And I figure, what better piece of insider information than the farmer himself? So I figured Monday afternoon, being that it was the holiday Monday, I would head out. Now, every time I've been out so far, I have kind of created a little ground blind. I have a little camel mesh thing that you plug into the ground, and I pick a tree and I sit down, and usually I'm about 10, 15 feet into the bush, to where I can see kind of the cornfield, either a cut cornfield, and that borders on a big hayfield.
Perfect. But not right on the edge where they're going to pick you out like a singing
correct.
silhouette.
Yeah, that's all. I'm about 10 feet in. So I think I told on the last podcast, I finally had a hen respond, give me that validation that at least I'm making some form of a turkey noise with my calls that I've been trying out this year. And sure enough, Monday, almost like an alarm clock at 4:59 p.m., I'm making calls with my slate call. And sure enough, I hear 2 hens, one on either side of me. I don't know exactly where they are, but they're making their purrs, I guess that you call it. And it got me excited. And, I sit normally, legs out, just kind of relaxed, but it got me to where I was on my knees. I was moving, and I had a hen walk right past me at 5-6 yards. It must have been
on your knees. And that's something, because you get up on your knees and then you realize, crap, this could be about 45 minutes.
Take a while.
You're like, 5 minutes in, this knee thing, I should have rethought this.
My leg absolutely fell asleep and was in pins and needles. And I was trying to think, how do I, readjust? Like, it was a horrible decision to do this.
Been there, done that.
But, I could have absolutely poked this hen with the end of my gun. She was that close. And but she didn't. She walked right past me. I had my decoys, because I use decoys. I had them set out about 25.
Yeah, I highly recommend the use of decoys while turkey hunting. That's just me.
This is what, and I know. Anytime I've gone out, I've asked Bill, would you put your decoys out? Well, yeah, if you're not going to be in the bush, have your decoys.
I'll give you that. If you're not in the woods, put them in the field, because you got to get them to you in the field.
So this.
But I said, put them away and get your butt in the woods.
Yeah, that's what you were telling me to do, but I wasn't in the woods. I was on the edge of the woods. So she walks from my right, going from my right to my left. And as she walks past me, a second hen comes out about 25 yards to my left and walks out into the cut corn. The hen that was so close to me walked right past my decoys and joined up with the second hen.
Now, this is a quick question there. Did that hen care at all about the decoys?
None whatsoever. She didn't even make a pause. She just walked right on past.
Just kept on going.
Just kept on going. No care in the world.
So I didn't even need them. See?
What I really enjoyed about her being so close is I could hear her, chirping as she's going by. And it's exactly what I envisioned with my slate call, the little clucking or whatever you call it that they're making. And I could hear her doing that.
We're going to need an example.
I can't make that noise. I heard you do it earlier, and you do a great job of it. So, but it sounded like she was talking with the other hen, because they were both kind of doing it in tandem together, and it was really neat to hear. So So they were doing that, and they ended up walking, and I actually went live on Facebook.
Did you really?
Well, I did. I took your lead.
I didn't even get to see that.
There's only one of the two of us Toms that can figure out how to go live on Facebook. And I'm not it.
Well, because I know
age isn't on your side.
So I went live on Facebook and I watched these hens, and they were probably 50, 60 yards, and they were playing in the dirt of the cornfield and kicking it up, and you can really see it in the video, and it was really neat to see.
Did you save that on your Facebook, or did you just go live and then not upload it?
No, it's there.
Oh, I gotta go look. I gotta go look.
Yeah. So they were there doing their thing, and they were at, I use a clock as my guide. So they were at about my 10 o'clock, roughly 70, 80 yards, kind of just kicking up the dust. And they slowly kind of walked away, kind of going from 10 o'clock to my 12 and
decoys
so on and
made
so forth.
him nervous.
Yeah, I don't think so. And then all of a sudden I heard a gobble off to my right. And when I hunt, I've always got my binos and my rangefinder and, in my pack. You guys know that from when we were goose hunting, I had my binos with me. My eyes aren't as good anymore, so I like to be able to see things and be sure of what I'm shooting at. So I pulled out my binos and I'm looking through the trees, and sure enough, at about 175 yards to my right at the property line where the corn field plantation starts, I'm starting to see turkeys walk out of the bush. And there's 1, 2, 4, 6, 7 of them come walking out, but I've got a lot of brush between me and them because I'm 10 feet back into the bush. So I'm watching them on my binos, and sure enough, I see a tom. And then I'm starting to really see a difference in the color because that hen was so close and I've been watching them, looking at the color difference between the hens that walked past me and the turkeys that had walked out of the bush. It was really neat to see, like, the bright red. And then I'm starting to see beards, and I'm seeing 2, 3, 4 beards come walking out in that group of turkeys.
My gosh. And you'd not heard a gobble up until now. You've hunted the same spot and never heard a gobble. And here's 4 toms that are there.
4 bearded, yeah. 4 bearded turkeys. I don't think they were all toms, but so I grabbed my slate call and I start. Go ahead.
Not to cut you off, but when you heard that tom gobble, could you think maybe you'd heard that before but didn't recognize what it was?
No, it was
sure you had not heard that before. For
sure, I had not heard that before. Like it was clear as day. It was what I had heard with you, many years ago when you and I were hunting. But I had
every time he talks.
Yeah, I had
that bearded Tom. I tell you what, every time he talks, all I hear is.
Well, I can tell you that up to this point, I had not heard that noise in this bush, in my opinion. So
I'm sorry, Bill. I didn't even know that was coming out of my mouth.
You don't know what comes out of your mouth most times.
So I grab my slate call and I start, making my chirps or purrs or whatever you guys call it. And then I get another gobble. Instantly he gobbles, and, he's fanned right out, and I'm watching him through the woods, through my binos. I can just see him. And, and he's kind of looking my way, and I'm thinking, okay, they're going to start coming my way. So I just kind of sit there.
Get up on your knees.
What's that? Sorry.
Did you get up on your knees?
I think I probably was, to be honest with you. I probably was, because I wanted to be ready in case they come walking across and, get in a good shooting position for myself where I was comfortable. And I was watching them, and they just would not come any closer. And at this point, it's probably about 6:15 by the time this group of turkeys had come out of the bush. And I was getting nervous about time. So I messaged Bill. I'm pretty sure.
You and I were talking at this point in time.
Yeah. And I said, I got a bunch of birds here. I definitely got toms. I don't think they're coming any closer. There's definitely no shot. Should I try to run through the bush or get through the bush to their end?
Yes.
And I kept thinking about you, Todd, I'll be honest, and thinking, I know you'd be chasing them down.
Hashtag make it happen.
Make it happen.
Yeah. So Bill basically said, leave everything and go through the bush. And I had already made the decision while I was waiting that this is what I was going to do anyway. But, it was nice to get the confirmation. Yeah, go give it a shot. So sure enough, I go walking through the bush and I'm being as quiet as I can. And I'll be honest, like I had bug spray on, but the bugs were unbearable. The mosquitoes, I look down and my hands are swarmed, my body's swarmed, and I'm trying to, not be swatting and making too much motion and everything else. But I'm positive there was no way was I getting over there without being seen. And sure enough, by the time I get to where they are, they're already walking, long gone. It was really, really heartbreaking to get all the way through there and just basically watch them walk away. There was nothing I could do. I basically packed my stuff up and I went home. I'd had enough. So I was pretty disappointed, but also, as I think I said to you in a text, Todd, that I was pretty excited because here enough, I got a new experience.
And you had a gobble respond to your call.
Experiences that you can put in your
my memory bank. Yeah. So for me, it was a learning experience. I got a sense for where they come out. I got a sense for a little bit of the interaction. I got an actual gobble call back. I watched kind of them, interact with each other. So there's a lot of positives I took from it, but I was also very disappointed in myself, maybe because I wasn't patient enough, maybe because I rushed.
Oh, you'll second guess it forever. You can't do that in turkey. When you do that in deer, because we take deer a little more serious, you can't do that in turkey hunting. You got to just caution to the wind and make it happen.
As a deer hunter, I second guess all my hunting. So I was, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So sure enough, what's today? Thursday. So Wednesday, yesterday I had, somewhat of a shorter day at work. And as things was panning out, I was keeping an eye on the clock and I kept thinking, you know what, I might be able to get out hunting tonight. If I hurry up and get through my day. I was up Bill's way actually for work, and I kept thinking, you know what, I can be back by about 3:30. I might be able to get in the bush by 4 type of thing. Sure enough, get home. I don't even change out of my work clothes, throw my hunting gear right on top. I grab all my stuff, and this time I decided I was going to grab a little pop-up tent, and I was going to take it out with me. My theory was I'll get it out. Worst case scenario, the tent will be there if I get out on the weekend hunting. I have something to sit in, because I wanted to give myself more view of the cornfield, the bush line, because I felt like I was losing a lot of my sight lines where I was sitting. So sure enough, grab my gear, get in the truck. As I'm on my way, I've got no gas in my vehicle. I need to stop, but I figure, you know what, I don't want to waste any time.
I've been there. Do I get gas or do I take the chance?
I'm looking at it and it's not even registering. It just says low. And that's when you're getting out. And I thought, the hell with it. I'm going to get out. And if I can, then I'll call for help afterwards if I need to. I wanted to not waste any time. So where I drive to get to my bush, I have to pass the cornfield and then almost go to the exact opposite end of the field where I park. Sure enough, as I'm driving past the cornfield, there's a bunch of turkeys already in the field at 4:00. And all I keep thinking is, how am I going to get from where I park all the way down? It's about 1,000+ yards from where I park to where I was planning on sitting. And how do I get there without being seen? And again, my mindset was there's a couple of little ridges in the cornfield, really small ridges, but that they were kind of sitting in. And I thought, I might be able to hug the bush line, get all the way down. By the time I got to that end of the bush, and I'm sweating like crazy because I got all of my gear and more than I normally carry and everything else. And I thought, well, I don't see the turkeys anymore. I might as well just set my tent up, get sitting in it, and same mentality. Worst case scenario, at least the tent's up. I got 2.5 hours a day or of hunt time left. And that's kind of where my mindset was I thought, you know what, they're around, but unlikely to see anything at this point. Figured they would have seen me and they were gone. So I think it was about, 4:30, 4:45 by the time I was really kind of tent set up and sitting down and comfortable. And I just start calling.
So,
and I don't really get much.
I didn't know you had a tent. Did you put your decoys out too?
Yeah, I did.
So you did everything the opposite of what I would do.
Absolutely. I wasn't going to tell you all that before this conversation.
You're right. Surprise, Todd, you're an idiot. So full blown, and it is what it is, but you're not in the woods. You're on the edge of the field. You're not mobile because you're in a freaking tent. And you got decoys. So where did you set the tent?
So I set my tent right on the edge of the bush. So
the turkeys could see your tent.
Oh yeah, no question about it. But I will say that in my bush, because what the farmer's been doing, he originally was going to try and make a pig pen back in the bush for some reason. It didn't pan out, but there's a bunch of old,
in case a hunter gets out of line.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a bunch of old 2x4s and fence boards and everything all piled up on the edge. And I put my tent right beside them because that's, I figure that's something that they're used to seeing and everything else. So I'm almost on
you used to
top
see it
of
a big
these.
6-foot pop-up tent right beside some
Yeah,
lumber.
you wouldn't even know. It's camouflage. They couldn't see it. So
I'm
enough,
floored.
I got
This
my
is the exact opposite. You ask what would Todd do? It would not be take a tent in there, but carry on.
Yeah, it's a completely different style. So, and I put my decoys out, and I'll be honest, I have them sitting at about 20 yards, and I'm in my tent, and I start calling, and I can hear every once in a while that hen or the hen sound that you were making earlier in the bush, because where I hunt, the corn borders a set of bush that I'm not allowed to hunt. It's a different piece of property, and that's where they had gone into. And I could hear them, and I'd call, and I wouldn't get anything in response. And every now and again, I'd hear a hen. So I used my reed call, and I got a little aggressive on it at times just to try to get a reaction out of them. And every now and again, I'd get a little bit of a hen call back. And I was alternating a little bit with my reed call and my slate call just to change it up.
How often were you calling?
I was on the slate call pretty regular. I would say every couple of minutes. Like I know it's everything against what you read.
Now that's what I would do. Oh, I'd call the crap out of them.
That's what the other side of it is Todd calls deer like that every 5 minutes. Rattle, rattle, rattle. Call, rattle, rattle, rattle.
Non-stop.
Make as much noise as possible.
Non-stop.
I don't do that. I would say that I was on the slate call, and I wasn't being aggressive on the slate call, but I'd make a little bit of noise every couple of minutes. And then I'd be on the reed call maybe every 15 minutes or so just to change it up.
You say a reed call, that's your mouse call, right?
Yeah, that's my mouse call for sure. And again, that's the one that I'm not as confident with, but I still, just to make a change, make it seem like there's more than one kicking around. So sure enough, I was hearing them a little bit, and I think it was about 5:45. I start to see little brown silhouettes at 180 yards, and I only know the distance because, again, I had my rangefinder. As soon as I saw them, I pulled up the binos. Yeah, those are the turkeys. They're out. Pull up my rangefinder, 180 yards. Send the first message to Bill. Take a picture. I got birds ahead, no question about it. And then, I start calling a little bit more on the slate call, and I'm watching this Thom. He puffs right out, fans right out, and I could see him like he was dancing with all the birds with himself and moving around in amongst all the birds there.
The turkey ballet.
It was really neat to see because he looked like he was going from each of the birds, all started out and everything else. So when I started my slate call, he would turn and face me head on. And then he would lose interest and he'd go back and do what he was doing. So I'd, make a couple more noises on the slate call, and he'd turn and look at me. And now they're about 165 yards. They're slowly kind of eating through the cornfield, and they're slowly coming towards me. It's about 6:00 now. I've been watching them for 10 minutes. They've maybe come towards me roughly 35 yards or so. They're still 150 or so yards out. And out of nowhere, to my right, 10 yards, a hen walks out of the bush. 10 yards away. Didn't even know she was there. Walked right out of the bush beside me. And when she did that, I heard a gobble. And I couldn't tell because in the tent, sound comes from all different directions. I couldn't tell if it was the Thom ahead of me or another one behind me. But my mindset was it was in the bush behind. So I started kind of focusing a little bit beside me. And that hen walked right past my decoys. And in this cornfield, there's one tree that's very out of place. And it's got a bunch of green around it. And I ranged it at 50 yards. And she walked right to that tree and kind of hung out there. And it was enough that flock of turkeys started walking towards her. And they're getting closer. And now I'm texting Bill and I'm saying, hey, they're coming in, and I'm watching. I'm taking photos of the Thom because he's fanned out the whole way coming across. And they're taking their time, and I keep, updating Bill, hey, they're at 110 yards. They're at 90 yards. They're at 80 yards.
The play-by-play.
No, it was pretty neat to be able to have that play-by-play, because I'm driving, home from work at this point in time, trying to communicate with him as much as I can without, get myself into trouble. I mean, I got text on the car and stuff, but it was just so neat. I wasn't really concentrating on driving. I don't want to tell you that, but I was concentrating on being
Look,
in
how
the
crows,
woods.
all crows are safe.
Right?
Bill can't hunt you. He was too busy.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be honest, like I took a couple pictures as they're walking across, and I'm letting Bill know where they're at, and again, I'm trying to ask Bill some questions while this is all happening.
I wondered how you were getting photos of these turkeys so close and so calm, and now I know, because you're in a freaking tent.
He was in a tent.
Absolutely. I was smart about it. So I had, I kept rangefinder up. I kept rangefinder down, rangefinder up, rangefinder down. I kept keeping an eye on where they were. And I knew at this tree, if they reached it, they're 50 yards. And I asked Bill, I said, how close would you get them before you would, take the shot?
Yeah.
And Bill messaged me back, and he said about 40 yards.
85 yards.
Well, I tell you, he's not using a turkey choke, right? He's using whatever.
I'm using my modified choke.
Heck, 140 yards, lay them all down.
Yeah, right. So, and with the other comment I made to him on there was, if they're coming, let them come.
That's
true.
true.
Not showing any type of aggression. Just let them come.
That's true.
So,
with everything, right?
So what I did is, when they got to about, and I could tell they were coming towards that hen, I put the call down. I said, I'm not calling again. They're clearly coming towards me. There's no reason for me to make any calls at this point. And I just kind of put the call down. I had my gun, ready to go. I had, and just my rangefinder, and I just kept checking on, because I could see them clearing with my rangefinder as well. And sure enough, they get to about 80 yards and they hang up. I can't, they're probably in amongst the far side of this grass under this random tree in the middle of the cornfield. And I'm thinking, geez, they're not going to come any closer. And all of a sudden, I think that Thom spots my decoys, because he puffed right out again, and he split off from the group. And now he's slowly starting to walk towards the decoys.
What? I bet you there was a hen behind your tent. You just couldn't see it because you were in a tent.
Well, one of the decoys is a hen, but as he starts coming across, he gets to about 50 yards. A second turkey breaks off from the group, and I'm pretty sure it's a Jake, because it was clearly smaller. And the two of them now are walking towards my decoys. And again, my decoys are at 20 yards. They get to 30 yards, and this Thom puffs right out, fans right out, turns to the Jake that was walking with him, and lets out the biggest gobble you'd ever hear. And I mean, like, his whole body went right tight together. And then when he let out this gobble, he stretched right out, the head went right out, and he was like yelling at this Jake. It seemed like he was saying, "Get out of here." And as soon as he did that, gun came out of the tent, fired off. He dropped, kicked the dirt, and all the rest of the turkeys calmly walked away.
I was waiting to hear they came over and put a whooping on that bird.
Everything you guys have said, I was expecting that. But when he hit the dirt, I don't know if the Jake, if they didn't know where the noise came from, I don't know anything. But honest to goodness, they turned and they calmly walked away back where they came from.
They're nervous of that tent.
No flying. So I stayed there because I didn't want to scare them away, because I got a couple of buddies who may come out hunting on the weekend. But it was the neatest thing, that 25 yards that Thom dropped right in front. It was the most exciting thing that I've had happen since deer season.
That's awesome.
Like I said, being able to talk to Bill throughout the whole process, send him the photos as the turkey's walking closer, talk to him, letting him know, giving him the play-by-play.
Making him feel even worse. That's awesome. I love it. It's okay, Bill. We got you, buddy. We got you. You can come along the journey with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you aim?
Support. How close was that, Thom, to your decoys when you pulled the trigger?
I have 3 holes in my decoy.
Good. You don't need them anyway.
Yeah. I went over, and sure enough, he dropped about 3 yards behind my decoy. and he was coming right to them. And I'm telling you, it was really neat watching him come in. He was staring right at the decoys, had no care in the world that my tent was there. I had moved a little bit between, getting the gun ready and, the rangefinder, but they had no cares in the world that I was there. He was coming right for those decoys, and watching him yell at that Jake was really, really neat. It was so loud. And all I kept thinking was, okay, shoot right where the head meets.
I was going to say, where did you aim?
Yeah, exactly where you guys keep telling me to. And he didn't go more than, a step, and just dropped, kicked the dirt a little bit, and that was it. And to be able to share that with you guys was awesome.
So first bird, tell me the specs.
So 10-inch beard, inch and a quarter spurs on it.
That's good hooks.
And what's that?
That's pretty good hooks.
Yeah.
See, I don't know how that rates in comparison to anything else. I just know that those are the measurements. Weight wise, I never got a weight. I don't have a scale.
Perfect. 28 pounds.
Yeah. I could tell you by the time I got it back to the truck, I had a full sweat on again.
Right.
That was an awesome story, Jay. I really enjoyed hearing it. Bill Vokes and Todd and I were on our way home from the gun club Wednesday night. We were back
last night.
Yeah, we were on our way home. And we were all talking, and then all of a sudden, Todd's phone lit up, and Todd.
Well, I said I got to call Bill because I got something to talk to him about. When I opened my phone, because it's a flip phone, when I opened my phone, there's the message from Bill.
Jay just shot a Thom, and we're all, whoa, Jay shot a Thom.
And then I scroll, and I'm like, oh, there's a message from Jay.
We're all excited.
Well, I had to send you a message, Todd, because I kept hearing on the podcast that you were disappointed that I wasn't keeping you updated.
I'd have been very. You would, yeah. Like, I'm sorry, you would have been doing this with Dad and Bill. I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Well, and then you send me the message pictures, or it didn't happen. But I was hunting out by myself, and I was trying to figure out how do I get a photo and prove that it was me with the bird.
I'm so pumped. You took a selfie.
Yeah.
I always take a selfie.
A selfie or whatever it's called.
That's the tradition that Scotty did the same thing with his deer last year that he shot.
Yep. It started way back. I shot the biggest doe I've ever shot. It was a doe, and the biggest. This thing was a mass, and I'm thinking the same thing. Nobody's going to believe how big this doe is. How am I going to take? I'm by myself. How am I going to take a picture with this doe as I was bow hunting and prove how big it is? And I thought, you know what? My head compared to its head. And so that's when I started taking selfies with all of my harvests.
That was an awesome story, Jay. I really enjoyed listening to it. That was great. I'm really happy for you.
I was pumped. I was so pumped. Still am.
Thank you, guys.
And don't let Todd tell you how to hunt. You know, stay with your own style.
Apparently.
Well, I said all along, I will listen to what everybody says, and I'll figure out a way to make it my own.
There you go.
In the process. So. But
Awesome.
I couldn't have done it with all your guys' help and listening to you guys talk about your stories. And, I've always said, listen to the podcast. It's for laughs, but it's also to learn a little bit. And you guys have been great help throughout the process. And I couldn't have done it without you. So thank you guys very much for all the tutelage along the way.
Sharing it with us. It's freaking awesome. I love it.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, super proud. The simple fact is that this was your first season, and you connected. You learned a ton. I tell you what, I was glad to enjoy the experience and happy to see the results and the smiles and hear the story and the excitement in your voice. So, yeah, it's a proud big brother moment here to listen to the story, and I'm anxious to see the tail, and I'll do that up for you when
I was going to say, you got to be getting it mounted, right?
Oh yeah, Bill already offered to do something up nice for me, and I have to be honest, I watched a YouTube video on how to do a few of the things. I found one of the neatest things that I never even would have known was to get the beard off, just give it a yank and it comes off in one big piece.
Is that true?
I swear that's exactly what I did. You grab it right at where it meets the breast and you gave it a pull, and it came off in one solid piece.
I had no idea. I've got 13 or 14 mounts in my house. Well, you've seen them. You've been here.
Yep.
And I've not done one myself. So I have no clue. I always take it to my good buddy Dave Snook, and he takes it for me. So I never worry. And then the ones that I don't mount, I have a standing deal with Scotty that I will clean his deer if he cleans my turkeys, because I hate cleaning turkey.
Well, I watched a YouTube video, and then I video chatted with Bill as I was cleaning it out, because again, I'd never really done it myself before. And
how'd you clean it? How'd you do it?
I breasted it out. That's all
breast
I did.
and legs. Yep.
So cut it right at the breastbone, just gave it a yank on either side. It came off real nice and clean. I learned that I need to get a better knife for doing what I'm doing, but
for sure.
But aside from that, I was pretty happy with the big piece of meat. I took them in and cleaned them out and got all the pin feathers out. Not that there was much left in them when by the time I cleaned everything out of it, but I found 4 of the shot shell in one of the breasts. That's all I found. So, and I got them out. That was no problem.
Right on.
We're in the noodle.
That's essentially where the rest of them were, as far as I could tell. But I'm very happy with how it all turned out. 2 really nice big pieces of meat I got in the freezer, and
I tell you what, you pound them suckers flat, you make up some dressing, and then you roll that up and wrap it in bacon. You will not be disappointed. Cook it to 165. Bob's your uncle.
Well, I will absolutely give that a try. I've got. I'm going to have a wild game night, because I've got some tenderloin here. I've got some turkey now. I've got.
You name a date.
We'll get together. That's for sure.
I'm totally okay with that. I think that's the best way to enjoy the spoils of the hunt.
Hey, I'm in. We've got I got about 8 or 9 year old goose breast down there. I'll bring. I'm all right.
Well, that's awesome. Great stories tonight there. This may even have to be a 2-part podcast with all the stories that we have.
Yeah, we're an hour and a half, and I don't know. I don't know whether we make it or we just leave it together and make this a long one. People can listen. You got all week. Listen to a bit on your drive into work, listen to a bit on your drive home, and listen to a bit more Tuesday. This is the podcast that keeps on giving.
It's a long walk.
Podcast.
Yeah.
It's so long, Bill, I hate to say it, but the patriarch has left the building.
He's gone.
As soon as he said that, he whispered, "I gotta go," and I heard him head to the bathroom, and away he went.
Past his bedtime. I understand. I get it. 9 o'clock is his limit for
he left the studio. I heard the bathroom door, and now I'm hearing the front door. He is out the door.
Have a good night, Don.
He gone.
He gone. So
he gone.
Well, that's good. Thanks again, gentlemen. It was a great chat tonight, and I hope everybody that was on the podcast for us for this long has learned something, had a few laughs, and just it gets to understand what we're all about, right? And this is friends and family getting together and sharing a few stories and laughs, and there's nothing better. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing better.
No, I tell you what. Yep, when a plan comes together, even though it isn't my plan. But
it's a good plan. I like this.
Yeah. It worked. I love it.
Yeah, and I'm going to do something different this weekend too. I'm going to put the decoys away and hit the woods. And
now I'm thinking you should get a tent and get your decoys out.
See, what we talked about it on a podcast a long time ago was, what is the number one thing you need to do when you hunt? It's have animals where you hunt.
That's it. They got to be there.
I mean, and there's nothing you can do when you get in there at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, whatever. I get out of my car at 4:15 in the morning. I walk into my spot and I'm set up before 5, and not a single gobble, not a cluck, not anything besides mosquitoes and mallards. And you just can't make them appear if they're not there.
Nope, can't do it. Well, and I think a big takeaway from Jay is, you didn't hear a gobble every morning you hunted, and you never seen a turkey. And then
not a thing.
Talk to the farmer, find out you see them in the field. Well, then that tells me that they're not roosting where you're hunting. they're just feeding out and walking around where you're hunting. So you weren't in their bedroom, near their bedroom to hear the gobbles or anything. And you would think from your hunting in that spot that there was no turkeys, when really there was turkeys. It's just you weren't there at the right time of day because you're not near their bedroom.
No, and that's the other takeaway that I'm going to have too, is I'm going to hunt a different bush Saturday morning. And then if nothing happens,
you're going back to your old bush, but in the afternoon, because you haven't hit it in the afternoon.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. Yep, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch it up a little bit and see if even if they're not roosting in that bush, right away, maybe they're using it as a through-fare. And after 7, because there's still a lot of light between close.
They don't roost. They don't roost till 9ish and after, right?
Well, this is my point, right? I mean, at 7 o'clock, we're done hunting. We can't hunt past 7. They still got 2 hours to roam around and move before they find
2 hours to go get to the roost. Yep, absolutely.
Right? And they can move a long ways in 2 hours. I can promise you that. So
you got her.
Yeah.
See, and I think the other thing, Jay said he didn't want to get up and spook those turkeys, right? Because his buddies want to come hunt this weekend. Yeah. And I tell you what, if there's one thing that I have proven out this year is it like people will say, if the deer see you, you better let the area calm down. Those deer get pressure and they're not going to be there and yada, yada, yada. I have haunted this bedroom day after day after day and ran and put turkeys out of that roost every freaking morning trying to chase toms out of the roost. And guess what? They're there the next freaking morning in the same freaking trees. I don't think their brain's big enough to realize that I'm there. The pressure's there that you can mess it up.
When you say that, that's the worst part about it, because an animal with the brain the size of a marshmallow has outsmarted me for the last 2 years.
So more to that, right? Is okay, correct, but they're very intelligent in the here and now. Their brain, it may be small, but it's wired for survival in the here and now, and not for the memory of what was here yesterday. I don't want to be there because of what was there yesterday, where they say deer are that way, where deer will remember if there was a bad scent or if they seen you and will be on edge or might not even go back to the area. I don't think turkeys are wired that way, but they are wired for the here and now and super survival right now.
Yep.
Right.
No question.
So I just think that's how it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously they got one less sense without having the ability to smell, but their eyesight and hearing is phenomenal.
Oh yeah. So. Big time. Yep. But I don't think you can screw up a hunt for tomorrow by running through it today. I just don't think that they're that aware. They're in their bedroom. They have their roost. They think they're safe. Have a good day. Like that Tom was 40 yards from me in the roost. How many of those Toms, now that I found out that there was 3 more Toms in there that I've seen, never once gobbled. So when that first morning, when I chased that Tom down that edge and I put 8 to 10 turkeys out of those trees, how many were Toms that never gobbled that I didn't know were Toms up in those trees?
Yeah, you don't know.
And they were there the next day, and they were there the next day, and they were there the next day. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, no, and that's an interesting thing too, that you don't know unless they gobble at you. I saw a turkey last year. I said I hadn't seen a turkey hunting in 2 seasons, and that's a lie. I saw one last year while I was in this same bush I'm going to on Saturday morning. And to your story, it didn't get out of the tree until 7:30. It was silly late. How it was. In fact, I was already done hunting. There was a Tom that was on the ground that I was going after. That bird was moving around, and it had gone off. And I thought, okay, well, I'm done hunting. And I get up and I walk 15, 20 yards towards where that bird is to try to go get it. And sure enough, out of the tree comes flying from my right to left a bird. And I'm looking. I had the gun on my shoulder, looking to see if it had a beard, because I was shooting that bird on the wing if it was coming down. If it was close enough. But, desperate times call for desperate measures, I tell you.
You see a sprout, it's dropping before the feet touch the ground.
I have an itchy finger, and I tell you what, just wait for something to show itself. But yeah, the hopes are high still. I mean, it's getting late in the season, but we've only got really 2 more days that I can hunt anyways, and 3 more sits is what I can if nothing comes out, and I will take every advantage of that time to keep my hopes up and give it a shot. So
heck yeah. Absolutely.
There you go.
Right on.
Well, there we go, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I appreciate the conversation.
Good luck this weekend, Bill. Hopefully you can join the men's club.
Yeah.
Congrats, Jay.
Thank you very much, and to you as well.
I appreciate it, good sir.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, right?
2 out of 3. Dad didn't want to hear us congratulate. He gone. Screw this crap. Yeah, nice stories, guys. I'm out. I'm going home.
All right. Until next week.
Until next week. Thanks, guys.
And that'll do it for this week, folks. For the Redneck Country Podcast, I'm Bill, the almost guy Thom.
And I'm Todd. And thanks for listening. And folks, if you want to be part of the podcast or you want to give us some feedback or really contact us about anything, feel free to email us at podcast@theredneckcountry.com. Again, that's podcast@theredneckcountry.com. Thanks for listening. Talk to you again next week.